And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by our good friends at Hail Mary Sports Bar, located in Cheviot, right off the main drag on Harrison Avenue. They are in the Dora District. So you can walk from bar to bar with your drinks, or you can just hang out. They got 27 TVs, 3 outside facing, a 9-screen video wall. Every local game will be on the video wall. They have a great atmosphere. They do not have a kitchen, but they offer various food trucks on the weekends and randomly throughout the week. They've got a brand new walk-in cooler. Their draft lines are brand new. The entire pour system is spectacular. They pour the coldest beer around, and they pour it in 32.8 degree beer frosted glasses. So go visit our friends at Hail Mary's on Cheviot, Harrison Avenue. Go find them. They'll get you taken care of. All right, Aaron, let's do the thing. At least I feel better than you because you have George in the Jungle tonight and you have to talk about the Reds. I don't have to. I don't radio for like 2 more weeks, which will be right around first preseason game. The Bearcats will have a scrimmage in the books. I have wiped my hands mostly clean. I'm gonna get done with this. I'm gonna listen to you and George, and I'm gonna play some NCAA football. It's delightful. I'm so happy. I had to watch all summer, like every game for 4 months, 4+ months. I'm over it.
Yeah, well, I'll have plenty of thoughts on
that. All right. Talk about Talkin is back, my brother. A nice, long, lengthy, hefty Talking with about 45 minutes of videos. If you want, you can watch them on the Bearcat Journal YouTube channel. Keegan has them all right there for you. If you want the abridged version, the Cliff's Notes version, Aaron watched it for you. He took notes. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. So we'll start out at the top. Coach Scott Satterfield. And there was a lot of, truthfully, there wasn't a ton that was new information outside of Michael Coleman.
There's not going to be until we watch practice. Yeah.
But for those who haven't been around through the summer and maybe you're just now catching up, we'll pretend that it's your first time hearing any of these things. The team is focused on connecting, focused on discipline. Those have been points of emphasis all offseason. Again, Michael Coleman is going to be out this season. He's the only one who really has been injured at this point through the season outside of Sincere Lewis, who was injured in the spring.
Which that's two knee injuries for Sincere Lewis, which sucked because he was one of those guys that everybody was really excited about when he got here and was the guy that flashed like he was going to get early playing time. And now he's had back-to-back knee injuries. Coleman, I think, is unfortunately a little lower on the leg, if you catch my drift.
Well,
you don't want to hear about.
In any case, they went on to talk about how defensively there's going to be plenty of competition, finding out who fits where to give this team the most success. As we know from last year, defense, I think it's fair to say, struggled throughout the entirety of the season. And that's probably
the run defense was really good early, and then not so much at the end. Everything was bad by the end.
So there will be plenty of defensive competition throughout the entirety of the offseason. Through spring or camp rather. They are still competing at quarterback along with literally every other position. So he's not going to announce anybody yet. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Sure. Because, Corey doesn't have that position on lock or anything, whatever. Anyway, they are going to look at rotating guys at defensive end with Coleman's injury, along with really every other spot on the line. That was kind of the thing that ended up being a theme between both what Satterfield was talking about and Tyson Veit eventually actually ended up kind of repeating the same thing. They just defensively want to continue to rotate. They want to continue to basically not run guys into the ground, playing every single play. One of the guys that they singled out, I don't even recall which coach it was at this point in time, singled out Jack Dingle that started
Was
off very
Vite.
solid at the beginning of the season, and by the end of the season was a shell of himself because of how much he had played. And it's a tough position.
And that's a guy that was just watching on tape. Like, think
Right.
about it in real time. Like, that was just Vite going back over and watching all the game tapes from last year and going, this guy at the end of the year was not the guy that we saw at the beginning of the year.
How many injuries did Jack Tingle have throughout the season? I mean,
all of them.
He was getting dinged up literally. I mean, you want to, we're going to make an NCAA football reference for EA Sports here, but wear and tear on a player, my God, his body had to have been red from head to toe, red. But they are going to just look at rotating guys literally along the defense everywhere. And I think that gets back to the pod stuff that they've been doing through all of spring, is just trying to get I think it was Vite who said repetition is probably king of everything. And as you look at trying to get guys repetition in this new defense, you almost have to divide up the repetitions equally and trying to get guys in different positions with different other personnel, because they're going to continue to trade guys in and out throughout the season. I think that's how you do it. And it's not, I don't think truly this is ideal for where they want to be, but I think this is just where we are right now.
Yeah, I think they obviously really like the pod thing, because it was supposed to be just like, we're going to do it at the start of camp or at the start of spring ball, and then it'll go away. And it did not go away. So that tells me they were getting what they wanted out of it. So much so that when I asked him today, he was still like, we kind of we kind of, I don't know if this is something he brought with him. Like, again, I've said before, I've never seen anybody do anything like it. Usually there is some variation of ones versus twos, or ones and twos, where this is kind of, you have your one defensive back group or your one safeties and your one corners and your your one linebackers, and they just kind of, you got your one secondary with your two linebackers and your two defensive line or your one defensive line, and it just kind of cycles through every rep that they do in practice. He kind of hinted that they would maybe like to be in ones and twos for like the scrimmages, but I think the thing that's good about this, Aaron, is you are seeing it sometimes as they cycle through all this stuff. So they are getting run together at times. It's just hard for an outsider to nail down
who's starting.
Okay, stop. Stop. That's the one group right there. So for my purposes, it's really annoying. But for their purposes, they are very clearly getting what they want out of it because they continue to utilize it. Yeah. So that tells me that whatever they are looking for is being provided on their end. So we'll see. I will continue to go out there every day and look out there at the first reps and determine whether or not I think it's ones and twos or if it's more pod system.
Coach Satterfield also talked about how they tried to create adversity in practice and wanted to see how the players reacted. I thought that was very interesting. As they were trying to get into how are we going to make the team more disciplined, because they've talked about how the team's been kind of policing the team. And if a guy showed up a minute late for some of those 6:30 workouts, the team would say, no, go, you're not here today. You can come back in Saturday and do a Saturday workout. You missed today because you were a minute late. But on the field, they've been trying to create adversity where they tack on a penalty, or something else would happen. Maybe it was a turnover that didn't actually happen, but they end up throwing that wrench into the mix, and they wanted to see how the players reacted, how they actually are they down and kind of moping about? Are they, what is the reaction of the players on the field, or players subbing in or subbing out, or whatever the case may be, to whatever the adversity was that they were creating as just trying to replicate, because you can't replicate a game, but this is what they've been trying to do, just to see what they can and trying to replicate those things.
Boy, you want to make somebody mad on offense or defense? Have the defense get a big third down stop in practice and then say, oh, sorry, pass interference, move a phantom pass interference, move the chains, first down, offense keeps going. You're going to find out who can keep their cool and who doesn't real quick. real
especially
quick.
Especially if that was supposed to be like your last thing you do before you get off the
Right.
field
That's what I'm.
and
Yeah.
to practice and yep. So I thought that was interesting though that they've been trying to do some of those things. Did say last year they lacked big plays. It's been an emphasis this year with quarterbacks and receivers trying to tack on the big plays, find those big plays. So they've been working on some of those deep plays with the chunk plays with the quarterback and receivers, and then of course offense coordinator Brad Glenn reiterated that later on. They also emphasized winning at home. They talked about it all summer, and they put just as big an emphasis on winning the victory bell back as they have on winning home games, which I know the fans have kind of grumbled a little bit about the rivalry games not meaning as much. Well, this clearly, as they've talked about it, they said they have previous players or coaches stand up and talk about it literally every single week. So it's been a point of emphasis that getting the victory bell back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like on the field, but this is a group that was very clearly not happy with the events of the last victory bell matchup.
Sure.
They left let's be honest, they left a lot of points on the board. A lot.
Name a game, and especially in the first half of the season, and you're probably talking about a lot of points left on that board. Dante, it was still work in progress. He's been lifting and running with the team, but obviously they're still following whatever the doctor's orders are on that particular day, week, etc. So a whole lot.
He is not clear. I know it was put out there on a podcast yesterday that was incorrect. He has not been cleared for contact. They're still going through that process.
Coach also mentioned that preseason polls don't matter, and usually they're just based off of the previous season, so he's not putting anything into that basket. That's about what we expected for him to respond in regards to that. Also, they studied red zone play this offseason, not just their own, but successful teams that have run successful red zones, and said that they don't want to just settle on field goals, especially after losing so many close games, kind of getting back to your point of how many points they left on the table in so many games. They don't want to just settle for field goals. And I think that red zone, especially when between Satterfield and Glenn both, they talked about how you're going to see different packages and get more creative, and you're going to utilize the tight ends more to try and take advantage of some of your mismatches. You're going to do different things with your receivers, with your run game, with name whatever position group you want on offense, and they're probably going to be doing about 15 different things this season than they did last season, strictly just to try and put points up on the board. There was
get to the red zone and score touchdowns. Let's do that. Let's do more of that.
I like that offense. Of course, there were some guys individually singled out, as you would expect. Probably no one more so than Brandon Sorsby, who has changed his body type from 241 pounds when he got here to 228. He's looking more agile, a little quicker on that first step. His competitive spirit, though, caught Coach's eye when he was looking for who he wanted to try and bring in here, and how team-oriented he seemed to be when he was at IU. Outside of that, though, the last real big thing that Satterfield mentioned, outside of the freshman class having the opportunity to see the field this season, which I guess is pretty significant because it's been a long while since we've seen an incoming freshman class make an impact.
I asked the question, and the reason I asked the question is because generally, when your roster is established, it's hard. It's really hard for freshmen to move up because that 2 deep is usually pretty solidified, and then you've brought in transfers to like plug into that 2 deep. Well, there's 47 new guys this year, and as we talked about, there's only like 15 guys in the program that took a practice snap under Luke Fickell, much less actually played in a game under Luke Fickell. So in 2 years, you have flipped your entire roster. That gives opportunity for some of these new guys, if their talent matches what we saw in the spring, and depending on what the other half of the class that got here in the summer looks like, there are going to be opportunities for some of those guys to move up the roster quickly, Aaron. Simeon Coleman, Jaquan Sanks, Woodburn and Dakari Anderson and Eli Jones, the wide receiver, the 3 new wide receivers. Like, you typically I think the defensive lineman from Memphis that they mentioned, whose name is escaping me, that's a freshman. Damn it. Anyhow, you're generally not going to see that too much, like in the trenches, offensive linemen, nose tackles, maybe a little bit with edge rushers. Marquez Parker, there it is.
Yeah,
there is a chance that he could see the field, but on the outside, like get these. If you believe in the talent of these young dudes that are freshmen, and their bodies can physically like handle playing college football, get them on the field. Do it.
Yep. But the last thing the coach talked about, the new communication that coaches can have on the field was brought up, and coach can now talk to the quarterback. You talk to, I believe, middle linebacker or whoever has the green dot on their helmet, probably some type of linebacker manning the defense, I would imagine. But they also are going to have 18 tablets split up between up in the booth and down on the field. Coach mentioned that it's probably going to be the offensive benefits more from having those tablets than defense, as they're going to be able to kind of break down the defense a little bit with the quarterback after certain drives and what have you. But that's going to be a work in progress. They've not yet really had that time to gel that all out. So we'll see how that goes. But did mention that it's awesome and that should help tremendously. And coach doesn't always necessarily seem to be somebody who's open to change.
Yeah. So it's pretty standard. Let's put the helmets on and let's go. Are you going to go through Bout and Glenn as well, or already?
I have notes. I know. I had notes. I just
speed notes. Speed dial.
All right. Of course, Brad Glenn said we got to score points. Also said that the backup running back spot is very important. There was a lot of coach speak for both coaches here. A lot of that stuff I already mentioned. So that's all that we haven't already talked about with Brad Glenn. We kind of hit on some of those other things when talking about Coach Satterfield. As for Tyson Veit, want to play a lot of guys. Discipline's been a focus. The pod stuff we touched on already. They worked a lot on stopping the run. They want to be able to make those tackles at all 11 spots. They've emphasized that all 11 spots need to be able to make those run tackles, not just the front 7 and that kind of thing. And then also mentioned Jordan Young and Derek Canteen have both emerged as leaders on this defense, specifically from the backfield when talking about the backfield. But is that speed round fast enough for you?
Yeah.
We touched on a lot of that stuff with Satterfield. So
all right. Well, it's gonna wrap it up for the preseason. Tomorrow, we talk camp. We'll see you then. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!